Well, usually on a podcast, it takes about maybe 15 seconds to introduce the guest. Today, buckle up, because this introduction alone could take a little bit as I introduce Ashley Stephenson, who is legitimately a two-sport Canadian superstar, and two sports being hockey and baseball. So let's start with the hockey. Four-time OUA All-Star defender with the Wilfrid Laurier, two-time All-Canadian hockey player, won 4 Ontario championships, won CIS National Championship with Laurier, 2005, then played in the National Women's Hockey League and Canadian Women's Hockey League for about 9 years, won an SO Cup national title in 2008. That's quickly the hockey story. Here's the baseball story. From 2004 to 18, played third base for Canada's national women's baseball team, won an IBAF World Tournament All-Star berth in 2008, two-time national team most valuable player, 2 silver medals at the Women's World Cups, a silver medal at the 2015 Pan Am Games. In 2022, she became the first woman to manage Canada's national women's baseball team. And 3 months ago, she was elected to the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame. Induction ceremonies to be held next month in St. Mary's, Ontario. And boy, Ashley Stephenson, that's all fine, but what have you done lately?
Got on a bus and head to Pasco, Washington with the Vancouver Canadians.
Well, let's talk about that. I purposely left out what it is you're doing right now, and you are in Washington, and exactly who are you with and what are you doing there?
I'm one of the coaches with the Vancouver Canadians, so it's the Toronto Blue Jays High A affiliate, and we're about a month into our season, so hopped on a bus yesterday for 8.5 hours and we're playing Tri-City Dust Devils, so the Los Angeles Angels High A affiliate, so we'll be here all week.
Wow. How was life on the road?
Honestly, I don't mind it. I don't find it that bad. We were talking briefly before about how it's changed. So with the new CBA a few years ago, they changed the minor league system. So it wasn't as much traveling from city to city. There's still lots of travel, but you don't bounce around as much. So you're home for a week, on the road for a week, home for a week, on the road for a week. And when you're on the road in the same spot for the whole week. So we got to Washington and we'll be here all week. So you kind of settle up in your hotel room and you get ready to play for the week. And then on Sunday after your game, you'll drive home, and then you get Monday off and you do it all again at home the next week. So honestly, it's not too bad.
Ash, I'd like, before you get too far into the baseball and your career there and this amazing induction that's coming up in St. Mary's, I want to go back to when I first met you, and our Laurier days, and the tremendous career that you had with the Golden Hawks, and I've always said that I think one of the greatest sport eras ever, any sport at Laurier, was your women's hockey team, and what you guys did in about a 9 or 10 year period with Coach Rick Osborne was absolutely amazing. And maybe you could just talk a little bit about that experience.
Yeah, I love my time at Laurier. I know everybody laughs and says, "Oh, you're there to play hockey." I really love my program too. I was there for kinesiology, enjoyed my program, enjoyed the profs and everything like that. And Rick came in our third year, my third year, and made just dramatic improvements to the program. It was an excellent hire. I knew him briefly from Mississauga, actually, before I went to Laurier. He coached with the Mississauga Chiefs, now the Mississauga Hurricanes organization. So I had known him briefly. And when he was hired, I was really excited because he had lots of success with our senior program there. And and he got there and he was just incredible for the program. I had a great working relationship with Ozzy. And so I had him for 3 years. And in that we won a national championship, which is obviously the pinnacle of my hockey career, is pretty incredible. Still remember that game like it was yesterday. Still talk to a lot of those players that we won with. Just kind of, when you're on a championship team, it's just, there's something different about it. Like when you hear people talk about at the end, like their interviews, and they say it's like family, it really is. Like I've gone to weddings for those girls, and now they have kids and stuff like that. So it's pretty incredible. But yeah, Ozzy was amazing, did amazing things. And even after I left, they just kept winning and winning and winning. They had about a decade there where they were you just knew every year they were going to find a way to win a medal. So Kelly's doing a great job now, getting the program, back to that standard. But yeah, Ozzy's, I don't even know what his winning percentage was, but it has to be up there. It's one of the best. In the meantime, you won a national championship too. So it was a pretty good, we had a lot of things rolling as Golden Hawk in those few years. We were rocking. So it was good.
Well, I expect, along that line, 20 years is next year. And
yeah.
I expect to see you and your teammates back for that 20-year reunion for sure.
Yeah, that's right. 2005. Yeah. I forgot about that. Yeah. Got a bunch of rings to prove it.
2005 was a real good year for that school for sport.
Yes. Very good. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just one more thing. You must also be thrilled with what's happened here recently with the PWHL, and with you playing in the pro leagues prior to its existence, and you were one of those trailblazers that that set this up, and now we have this wonderful thing going on with the PWHL, and I think you must be really excited about that as well.
Oh yeah, that was, when I heard that was coming, I was so excited. Oh my gosh, that was amazing. Like they just, women and hockey needed a professional league. Like for years and years, the Canada versus US rivalry just kind of fueled and had so many fans, and then it was a little bit lost. There was nothing in between for fans to watch or players to compete in and stuff like that. So this was a long time coming. I actually managed to get tickets to the first ever game in Toronto against New York, and it was incredible. Like place was packed. And I think they've done a lot of really smart things starting it up. It started really quickly, but like some of the venues are a little bit smaller to make sure you get crowds and you sell it out and stuff like that. I think that was really important. Instead of having like huge venues that are, half full or half empty, whatever way you want to look at it. Like every time I've been to a couple games in Toronto, and they're sold out every time. You look what they did in Montreal, like packed house, 21,000. The old saying, like if you build it, they will come. They've done a great job, and those players deserve that, and the players after them deserve that. It's so exciting. When I saw that, and when I saw, like I had tears in my eyes when I was there, and when I was walking around the arena, I was like, man, we've been waiting for this for so long, and I'm so happy that it was well received.
Why do you think it took so long? Like when you look at the success that they've had this year, you almost say, why couldn't this have been done 15, 20 years ago?
I mean, hindsight's always 20/20, right? Like someone's got to take a leap of faith and honestly put their money where their mouth is. Like lots of people say that they'll contribute and do contribute money, but it does cost a considerable amount of money. And so obviously the owner of the whole league, instead of having multiple owners and trying to find different ways to make it work, they've got one owner of the whole league. And so that's different than a lot of leagues, right? Like usually you have, like I said, multiple owners, and they're trying to find a way for obviously the league to have success, but their program, their team to have success. This owner wants the league to have success and every team to be really good and stuff. So it's maybe a different approach, but in the end, it comes down to the right timing and money. And that happens a lot, right? Like you got money to properly market it. You got athletes who now have a face and a name, and you see on TV pretty regularly now because of commercials, but because of the Olympics and stuff like that. And then other leagues like the WNBA have, really kind of shone a light on female athletes, and NCAA with Caitlin Clark and some big names that are coming up. So right timing, and that people were ready for the league. and the league was ready to take off. And then honestly, just money where people were really willing to invest in it and not say, okay, well, we'll start this for you and then you got to do the rest of it, or volunteers have to do the rest of it. Like, that doesn't happen in men's sports. So I'm not sure why we would expect it to happen and work in female sports. So this time they've done it properly, it seems. And now they're seeing the rewards of that.
That's just looking at that in the sense of watching hockey all my life, basically as a referee and working at the National Hockey level. I think the thing that really worked for PWHL was just the overall marketing plan. Marketing plan has been absolutely fantastic. And also the fact that they did a shorter season and they're coming into playoffs now. So they had a major, everybody was on board. They were getting excited and they're kind of in a position now where they played in. Now they're getting close to the playoffs and the excitement keeps going. So I'm really looking forward to seeing the playoffs and then seeing how it progresses to the next season.
I think the marketing they did do is really outstanding. Interesting, the teams have no names and it didn't seem to affect anybody, right? Like, people kind of said some stuff at the beginning, and because the no names means the jerseys are fairly generic and stuff like that. But at the beginning, people were kind of maybe bad mouthing it a little bit, but I don't mind it. Like, now that you have the fans and people are connected to their cities or teams that they want to cheer for, and you roll things out almost as a slow drip, then you can roll out your merchandise. Like, right now, it's just promoting the entire league as opposed to promoting one team or something like that. You're promoting the entire league, which I think is pretty incredible. I think the fact that they have a lot of female referees on the ice too is really great. This is an opportunity for women to be in sports and at all levels, not just as players, but as coaches, but as referees, as PA announcers, as team doctors, as team athletic therapists. For all of the roles in professional sports that exist, especially on the men's side, almost all of them are held by men. And now there's a league where almost all of them can be held by women, right? And I think that that's so incredible. The first thing I noticed, one of the first things I noticed when I got to that game, the first game, Toronto, New York, is the PA announcer was woman. You almost never hear that. And I realized it because right away I was kind of looking around trying to find them, because I was like, that's a female PA announcer. So you look on the bench and there's female athletic therapists, female coaches. So this opens up a world of opportunity in sport for women, not just for players. Obviously people want to be the, athletes and stuff like that. That's amazing. It's really hard to do that. You have to have certainly a lot of skill and whatnot. But there are other things that you can do if you love sports and you love hockey and you want to be involved. And I think that's one of the really great things about this. And part of the marketing has really been to try to keep it as female centered and female focused as possible. And they've done a really great job of doing it. They've done a lot of really things really well. But I think that's one of them for sure.
I think, Ash, too, the broadcasters and the colored commentators, I think they've done an amazing job. They're so good and so knowledgeable, and I think that's part of it. As you say, another role that the women can fill and do a great job at.
Yeah, they seem to just not have missed a beat or skimped ever, right? Sometimes starting something new, it's where can we cut corners? Where can we save money? Where can we do? And they haven't seemed to have done that. They've fully invested in making this the best product they can make it. One of our other former Golden Hawk alumni, Cheryl Pounder, she does lots of color. I mean, she's on TSN all the time. She's amazing. She's so charismatic, does an amazing job. And she's doing it too. And she knows these athletes, they have a connection with them. It's easy to talk about when you're talking about people that and stuff like that. The timing of the league worked out really well. Like you mentioned, the shorter season's really good, but they just finished the World Championship and basically have a couple weeks and then they're going to roll straight into playoffs. So they're going to take the momentum of everybody watching that World Championship, right? Another great game, Canada, US. And in 2 weeks, they're going to kind of roll in from there. They're going to roll into the playoffs. So they have done a really great job. Honestly, unlike the NHL, where they haven't had their players playing in international competition in a while. They'll be back in the Olympics, the next Olympics, but they haven't had a best on best, which those players have been asking for years. And like the women have allowed, like they're doing that. They got best on best, and then they go back to their teams and stuff like that. So they've done a really good job kind of weaving that into their season. And I like a few of the rule changes that they've done. They take a chance with a couple of different rule changes. They haven't gone rogue and just done crazy stuff, but kind of a few things that have been a little bit interesting, that piqued interest of some fans and stuff like that. So yeah, kudos to them. I'm so happy that league has had some success this year. Like obviously, like talked to friends before it started, and we were like nervous. We wanted it to do so well, so we want those players and players behind them to get the credit that they deserve, and we want it to survive. So excited that they've done a great job with it.
So your transition into coaching in the for the Blue Jays farm team, how did you become involved in becoming a coach at that level?
Well, after I finished playing, I got into coaching our national team right away. Like I always knew I wanted to coach. Even when I was a player, I love X's and O's, like hockey, baseball, didn't matter. I knew as soon as I was finished, I would want to coach. And so when I retired at the end of 2018, we had our World Cup, and I retired that year, and I talked to at the time, our manager, our GM, and just said, like, I would like to get into coaching. If you want me to wait a year or so for this to be a little bit of a transition, that's fine. But ideally, I don't. Ideally, I just jump right in. And he was awesome. He knew that would be my goal. We had talked about that, probably my last few years of playing. And so in 2019, I jumped into coaching right away in the qualifier. And I had done some things with for probably 10 years or so, some amateur stuff with the Blue Jays back home. They have a really great amateur program where they have traveling camps and stuff like that around the country, but primarily in Southern Ontario. And because I'm a teacher, it allowed me in the summer to do those camps, do those roles and stuff like that. And you got to be lucky sometimes, and stars have to align, and they did. The MLB has decided that they're going to try to have more of a focus on diversity and inclusion and stuff like that, and so they started a program called Take the Field, just to try to get more women involved with baseball and different capacities. And so I attended that clinic twice. And you had to apply to get accepted. You have to put in a cover letter, resume, fill out, like a questionnaire type thing about your baseball knowledge and areas of expertise, et cetera, and areas of interest. And from there, they sent that information out to all the GMs and AGMs. And because of that, I was able to connect with Joe Sheehan of the Blue Jays. And then I had done some work with them, the amateur side. But it was probably like 8 months or so where we chatted and went back and forth and tried to work out something that would, work for both sides, right? Work for the Blue Jays organization. But obviously, this is probably more of an entry-level position where most men coming in would be 25, 26, having just finished their playing career. And I certainly wasn't 25 or 26. I started later just because that's when the opportunities opened up for women. So it took us like probably 8 months going back and forth, and he was really great to work with. He was honest, and we were able to work it out. So last year was my first season, but it's like a long-winded answer of lots of things happening behind the scenes and stars aligning for it to happen. It wasn't kind of like I just, they came calling and I was like, yeah, sure. That would be a fun story, but that wasn't the story at all.
Yeah. And just talk about how you've been received there, Ashley.
Honestly, amazing. I really wasn't sure what was going to happen. Like obviously coming into any new environment, whether you're coaching men, women, kids, doesn't matter. You want to do a good job. And so I was looking to come in and, be myself and do things that I thought that I could do well to help players develop and to, be a good addition to the organization. And again, I really wasn't sure how I would be received. Obviously, I was hoping it would be well. And the players really have been great. It's interesting. Like I've heard this before when I hear women in professional sports or something talk about it, or professional female athletes, and they'll often say, like the players and coaches at the highest level are the ones who give you the respect because they know what you're talking about. They know the work that you've put in to get there. They've also put in that work to get there. the armchair coaches from home and the people on Twitter and Instagram and everything are always typically the ones who have things to say, but have never, put on a pair of baseball pants once in their life at any elite level and done anything, extraordinary. And so they're the ones who often critique and stuff like that, try to stay off of social media and read things like that. Although once I was hired, there was lots of really positive feedback. I had lots of people messaging me saying that this is a great hire and, this is a great opportunity for me. But players and people in the Blue Jays organization have been nothing but outstanding. So that has made the transition smooth. Obviously, it hasn't been perfect, but definitely smooth. And I was, it's something that I was a little bit concerned about heading into it, but they've been excellent.
Ash, what is your in-game role?
So I'm a position coach. So right now, my focus is on the outfielders. So anything that's kind of to do with the outfielders is what I will focus on. So any pregame work with them. Everybody has, the organization has goals and the players have goals for things they want to work on. So they're my focus. Same thing in game. If I see something or if I want to talk to them. I also do all of our defensive charting, and I'm not sure if you see at the big league level, there's, everybody knows this in baseball, there's so many analytics, so many metrics, so many numbers that you can pull from. And so we have cards to help players on, where we want players to stand and stuff like that. So I do all that. Do pre-scouts on other teams' pitchers, do pre-scout on our hitter or our base runners. So honestly, in the minor leagues, like in any sport, you don't have as many coaches as you have in the major leagues. And so you wear a number of different hats, but primary focus is with the outfielders, do lots of stuff with base running and the defensive carding and charting and stuff like that.
How many would be on your staff?
Coaches?
Yes.
Manager, bench coach, position coach, that's myself, pitching coach, hitting coach. I think we have 6 coaches, bullpen coach, 6 coaches. And then our strength and conditioning coaches. Sure. But uniform coaches, I think there are 6 of us.
Did you get out and do anything at third base or first base?
Yep. So I split some time at first base. Typically in the minor leagues, the manager is at third base. And then the bench coach will go to first base or third base sometimes, and then I'll go to first base as well.
Ash, you talk about, the respect you get and being received. Any member of that Canadians team that looks at your resume has to be really impressed with, a 15-year career as a player on Canada's national women's team. So that alone, has earned you the respect of them. But, just talk about that career that you had. You won a silver at the Pan Am Games. That was a terrific career after hockey, I guess, or actually during hockey.
Yeah, I was lucky enough I was allowed to overlap and play them both for a little while, which was quite lovely. I'm really proud of the career I had, but it was just you grow up playing sports when you're a kid because you love it and it's fun, and you never really think that this is going to be your life. The other day, it was working out in our weight room, and I thought in my head, how did I get here? Sometimes you have those pause moments where you look around and you're like, oh my goodness, how did it go from Mississauga, Ontario, playing t-ball at the park with my mom, dad, and my brother and our dog Buddy to here, So I'm proud of my, my baseball career more than anything, just because I love to play, and it was a fun, and it was a long career. One of the things I take pride in is the length of time I was able to play. And I think, durability is something that, lots of athletes don't have. Maybe it's the time commitment to being good for a long time. Obviously having a skill set to be able to survive and change with the game. My game certainly changed over my 15-year career. But the memories that you build with players and teammates, and there's nothing better than being on a team, nothing better. The highs, the lows, all of it in between. It's the best. It's the most fun, and, builds lots of character, builds lots of resilience. There's so many amazing things that sports do for you. And I was lucky enough to play at a high level for a really long time, which I'm proud of. But I think of all the people that have helped me get to this point, and there's the list is so long, but I am proud of my career. I think the guys, like once it was announced that I was being inducted into the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame, lots of the players at spring training had plenty to say and lots of congratulations. So I thought that was pretty cool. Maybe some of them hadn't necessarily looked it up before. They knew I played, but after that they started looking it up a little bit, and a lot of them call me CB Hoff now just as a joke. So they've been really great, but proud of my career and how hard I've worked to get here. But I mean, it was so fun. I wouldn't have traded it for the world.
I would think you've got to be a real proponent of young kids, boys and girls, who don't pigeonhole themselves into one sport year round. I mean, you see that as young as like 8 and 9 years old. Some kids, are going all hockey 12 months a year or all gymnastics 12 months a year. But you're obviously a success story that didn't do that.
Yeah, and I think that was, again, just timing, right? Like, I'm a bit older, and so that didn't happen as much. Like back then, you were encouraged to play your season and then go to the next season and play. And two things that I happen to love, one was in the summer and one was in the winter, so it was amazing. It was perfect. But like, even you look at like NBA stars and stuff like that, and some of them it's like, oh, could have played football, could have played baseball, but I chose basketball, and they're incredible athletes. And yet we have so many kids and parents and coaches are half the problem, who say like, oh no, you can't play hockey in the winter. I need you to, play indoor soccer all winter to help get ready for winter season outside. And it's insanity. I don't understand that at all. Like, I don't have kids, so it's tough to say, what I would do. It's easier to critique from the outside looking in, but when coaches try to pigeonhole kids or parents and say, they can't do this, they have to just do this. And I just think it's silly. Like, I was able to play into my early 20s, and I had a little stint where I was invited to national team hockey tryouts, and I was also on national baseball team. Like, had one that overlapped. I was supposed to go to the World Cup in 2006 in Taiwan, and our training camp overlapped with a conditioning camp that I had for Hockey Canada. Had been invited right after. We had a couple great years of playing at Laurier, and I was invited to some training camps for Hockey Canada. And I had to call Mel Davidson, and I was so nervous to call to say, like, I'm also on the national team for baseball and we're going to a World Cup. And this is a national team coach, like Hockey Canada coach. They're in the Olympics. They've had tons of success. And she said, yeah, okay, we'll get it done early. I would never ask you to miss that. Like, so she didn't have to say that. And I would have been in a really tough spot where I would have had to pick. And that's what we're making kids do at 9 years old, 10 years old. I was like 23. Yeah. And she didn't make me pick. She let me do it. I had to do all my stuff. I had to do all my testing. And I had to schedule it with one of the fitness and strength guys in Toronto and make it work. And it was a tougher schedule for me. It wasn't, spread out as much, and I had to hit all the qualifications in order to be invited to the on-ice camp. And so she said, it'll be challenging, but I'm not going to tell you can't do it. And I did it. And I was like, I'm still so very thankful that she let me do that. And she didn't make me choose, because it's really hard when you want to play a lot of things and you want to have fun with friends and do things that you love. But sports help each other. Like, you learn things in some sports that you will transition to other sports and stuff like that. And there's so much research out there that says multi-sport athletes is where it's at until kids are at least like 15, 16 years old. And yet at 7, 8, 9 years old, we have kids on the ice 6 days a week. And so literally it's impossible for them to join swimming lessons or to play basketball or something else. I don't understand that at all. That's crazy to me.
Amazing legacy, Ash, that you've left. How many athletes, Randy and Lats, do you know that have had opportunities and played for two national teams, two different sports? It's absolutely amazing. Truly one of the, and not female, I would never say that. Truly one of the great athletes that's ever come out of Laurier. male or female. And it's just wonderful, the things that you've done. It's great to hear your story.
I was just thinking that, like, when I think of the journey you've had, I think that Haley Wickenheiser was the first that came through all that too, and went on to go over to Europe and all that. And I think she had to break a lot of same progress that you've made in breaking barriers for females to in the future.
Yeah, I mean, she was a face of female hockey for so many years. She's an unreal player. Got to compete with her at a couple of the training camps, and it's like maybe one of the fiercest competitors I've ever played with or against, like an unbelievable hockey player and competitor. And I think that's what made her so good, and like so feared, to be honest. And then, yeah, like her job with the Leafs now, she's a doctor, went back to medical school. She played softball as well, dual sport athlete. So you think about people like her who are shattering, or breaking down doors for women, all over the place, and other people in other sports, the female soccer league that's going to be starting here next year in Canada, 8 teams, Diana Matheson, Christine St. Clair are kind of behind that. So there's lots of things happening in women's sports right now that are pretty special and fun to be a part of. I follow along that stuff really, really closely. I happen to be working with a men's team just because, baseball hasn't quite got there yet in terms of like female leagues and stuff like that. But I mean, hopefully people hear my story and maybe are inspired by it. There are more opportunities opening up for women in baseball. I never really thought of myself like that as like a trailblazer or a pioneer or anything. Just always kind of kept doing what I loved and kept trucking. And opportunities kind of were put in front of me through some hard work and knowing the right people and a little bit lucky. And I've worked hard to try to earn those opportunities and still do a good job with them. And so hopefully other people, other girls behind me have those same chances or more to do more, and kind of hand them the torch and then have them keep running. But Wick was definitely one of the first ones. I mean, lots of people before her, but for people my age, looked up to her, watched her on TV. Incredible athlete, incredible person, smart, driven, all those great things. So, yeah.
Ashley, part of your story that I find intriguing too is the fact that you've had 7 concussions over the course of your, I guess, mostly hockey career. And I got to ask you, what inspired you or motivated you to bounce back after, concussion number 5 or concussion number 6?
I mean, to be honest, I probably didn't even know early on that that's what they were. Like thinking back, that's how many I've had. But early on, I didn't really know. I had one where I was like knocked out, and it was bad. It was had a really tough time, had a lot of symptoms, and had a tough time for a while. Recovery was like months long before I felt back to myself. And so that was in university, actually, in first year. And I mean, there wasn't as much education around it. I honestly don't know if I would have been able to keep playing if there was as much education as there is now. I'm not sure a doctor would have said, sure.
Right.
And, like you're young and you think everything's going to be fine. And, you're like, just put me out there. I want to be tough. I want to play and stuff like that. And it's, now the risks associated with concussions and stuff like that. So, I mean, I don't know if I made the smartest decision, so I'm not sure I should speak on what I did. But I always I love to compete. I love sports. It was my whole life ever since I was a kid. It didn't matter what I got to do. I wanted to be competitive. We played family Yahtzee and I had to win. We played t-ball and I had to win. We played hockey. I had to win. And so I just always love to play, love to compete. I think that's one of the reasons I like to coach, because it still lets me compete to some degree. And so I always just wanted to come back and I always wanted to play. Probably should have listened to doctors a little bit more early on. Now, thinking back, you know what you know about concussions, and hopefully I don't suffer anything long-term because of that. But Certainly I had two really bad ones. Other ones, a little bit milder. Recovery was a little bit quicker. And, when things are quicker, it's easier to get over. But I had two bad ones. It took me a long time. And ultimately, the last one ended my hockey career. The doctor said, no more, or I'm not going to let you play baseball either. So had to decide. And unfortunately, that's what ended my hockey career. But was allowed to continue and play baseball. And so that's why my one career is a little bit longer than my other one.
Having watched you play all those years back at school, I would absolutely love to watch you now in the PWHL, where they've allowed a little more physicality. In fact, quite a bit more physicality. And I know that would be right up your alley. It would be fun to watch you play in that league. Trust me, as I say, having watched her, Ash she's no Mitch Marner. She'll stick her nose in there, and the physical aspect was something you never shied away from. So I'm not surprised there were some issues with with your the problems with your head.
Yeah. Hey, if you play hard, there's going to be bumps and bruises along the way, right? Like, it's just part of the game. I love the rules. I love that they're allowing the women to be more physical. Like, we always wanted that. And so at the pro level now, they're letting it. I think it's perfect. Every one of those women can handle that. They're professionals, and so I think it's awesome. But most D, I think, would be any D, not just me, would be happy with more physicality, just easier to play the body. So, yeah.
There's one kid, Ash, that I every time I think it's New York plays, the girl's name is Rock.
Yes.
And she's well named. Oh my God. Huh?
Yes.
That kid is a physical, and she looks like she's strong, very strong.
Yeah, she's on the U.S. national team. But it's funny because she's actually a goal scorer too. Like, she can actually score, but she is not afraid to mix it up at all. Yeah, fun to watch.
Yeah, for sure.
Hey, Ashley, are you still a heated Yahtzee player?
No, well, I'm heated at anything. It's terrible. Like, I could play Monopoly and get into it with people. It's like, honestly, like, I'm 41 and sometimes I need to say, just breathe. Like, we play, well, this is a funny story. We play once a year, our school staff. So I teach at Dr. Frank Hayden Secondary School in Burlington. Great place to work. And on the last day, every single year before Christmas holidays, any staff who wants to, we put in $10, we rent ice and we play shinny. And so another teacher that I've worked with for a long time, she will remain nameless just because I don't want to rip her here. And she played field hockey at the school down the road in Waterloo. And she's a good field hockey player, but never really was on the ice much or anything like that. So anyways, it's just supposed to be for fun, but I can't do anything for fun if it's involving sports. So we get out there, we're playing, our team is winning. I don't know, we're up by a goal with like 2 minutes left in this, again, friendly teacher game that means nothing. There's no refs, there's no nothing. And we're up by a goal, there's a couple minutes left, and there's a delayed offside. She has the puck. So I'm like, you got time. And I know she's going to panic because she doesn't play a lot of hockey and whatever. And they're skating past her because they got to like get back on side. So, and everybody knows there's no ref, but everybody's leaving the zone. Everybody knows it's an offside. So I'm like, you got time. Just like basically turn around, get your head up and find somebody to pass the puck to you. Nobody can touch you right now. You're safe. And then I said it like 3 times, and she just fires the puck down the ice, and it goes for icing. And I look at her, I yelled, you got time. It's a delayed offside. And she just like kind of looked at me, and a good buddy of mine was in that. He's like, Coach, it's okay. And I thought in my head, oh my God, Ashley, get it together. Like what? Like, I'm just yelling at this poor woman. But I just like, so competitive all the time. I love to win, and I love when things are competitive. Like, it just, there's so much fun in that for me. Like, you work hard, you train hard, and then you get to play hard. And I just think that is the best feeling. And so I had a tough time turning that off sometimes, even in a staff shitty game or Monopoly that we play with friends and family. It doesn't matter what it is. Sometimes I got to give myself a little check.
Yeah. You'll probably never lose that.
Yeah, I know. I try sometimes, but just like every now and then I'm like, what are we doing here? Like, are we trying to win or not? And they're like, not really. We're just out here for fun, for some exercise. I was like, go to the gym if you want some exercise. Like, there's goals going to be scored. I want my team to have more than the other team. Like, why doesn't everybody want that?
Absolutely. Hey, as we record this, it's around May the 1st, and you're going to be inducted into the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame in about 6 weeks. Just talk about what that experience is going to be like. I'm assuming you're going to have lots of friends and family there. Just the feeling is as these next few weeks build up to that event. It's got to be pretty exciting for you.
Yeah, certainly exciting. Scott, who runs the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame, asked if I have like a list of people who are going to be in attendance and stuff like that. And so I just sent out a quick message saying to like some family friends saying, hey, let me know if you're coming. If you don't want to, all good. But just so we can kind of be seated together. And then I just got this barrage of messages back saying, oh, I'll be there. And I thought in my head, I'm not sure I can send Scott all these names. So I put it on a doc and I said to Scott, here you go, man. I apologize. There's quite a few names on here. And he was like, nope, no problem. Like, we'll make it work. And so, I think that's special when you have, lots of support there, family, friends, coaches, teammates, stuff like that, I think is really special. Like that's what makes playing the game fun. So that'll be really nice to have everybody there. Everybody keeps asking about the speech, right? Like, have I started writing the speech and stuff like that? So I've jotted down a few notes, have not written the speech, though. I do need to get a handle on that. One of my good friends, she was a sports writer for a long time and is now just graduated from law school. And she keeps saying to me, do you need me to edit something? I'm like, yeah, probably, but I have to put something on paper first for you before you can edit it. So I do have to get thinking about that, but I'm looking forward to it. I get to go home for 3 days. The Blue Jays gave me that, the 3 days off to go home, which I'm really thankful for. So I'll get to see lots of family, friends, and, certainly a great honor to be, put in the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame. Never imagined that would happen at all. So yeah, it'll be a great weekend in June. I'm really looking forward to it.
Who else is in your induction class, Ash, this year?
So Russell Martin is in it, obviously Canadian, and then played for the Jays for a long time. Jimmy Key, Howard Burney is in it, and I can't remember the last person that's not coming to mind. Oh, Paul Godfrey is in it. So lots of like Blue Jay contingents. So it's kind of cool now that I'm like working with the organization as well. So it'll be a really great class. People who've, done amazing things for baseball in Canada. I could go in with anybody, and I think everybody obviously is well deserving. It doesn't really matter to me, but some really cool names to go in with for sure.
Absolutely.
Well, well deserved to be sure, and. Gary, I think you said it. I mean, when you think about dual sports Canadian athletes who have really, been elite at two different levels. I mean, Ashley, your name is really right up there, both baseball and hockey. You must be excited about, albeit men's baseball and women's softball returning to the Olympics in 4 years too.
Yeah, that's a huge battle that, baseball, softball has been fighting for a long time. Like they want to get in there and like permanently in there, but it's so expensive, right? And everything about the Olympics, unfortunately, now is about money and how you can generate money because it costs so much to host an Olympic Games. But, you have 30 people on a baseball team or 25 people on a baseball team plus 5 coaches, etc. So now all of a sudden every single team you've got has 30 to 40 people, facilities quite large and stuff like that. So it's really costly, but I think it's awesome for our game. Mainly the development has to happen in Europe, in Africa, right? Like IOC members, it's no secret, lots of them are European, and so when you're voting on things, they're going to vote with their heart sometimes, their head sometimes, and their wallet sometimes. And so I think it'll be, obviously back in, because in LA, like, baseball's huge. In the US, their softball team is outstanding. So the chances of them medaling is big. But I think because the World Baseball Classic, that kind of put a damper on the Olympics and baseball in the Olympics, right? Like, that the argument is you literally started your own event and it's 4 years apart, like the Olympic Games. And you have the best players coming and playing. So why do you need to be in the Olympic Games, right? So even though baseball started that as kind of a cool event, it might have backfired on them a little bit, in the sense that, the Olympic Games now they don't why does the IOC need to have you in the Olympic Games if you started that? So the success of the World Baseball Classic was huge. They every 4 years they have great success with that and stuff like that. But I do think at some point that might have shot themselves in the foot. The Olympic Games is a pinnacle for me. It's amazing. I would love to get to an Olympic Games someday. So I think it's amazing. But World Baseball Classic, I don't know if that maybe had an impact on it, but it's certainly fun to watch the World Baseball Classic too, because you do get as close to best on best in the world there as possible.
Really, when you think about it, the Olympics is about the only thing you haven't done.
I'm working on it.
But it's true. I mean, it's about the only thing that you would still want to maybe put on your bucket list that's really still out there.
Yeah, it's the only thing left for me, really, that I would love to find a way to get to. I mean, a World Baseball Classic, if I could, be on a coaching roster for a World Baseball Classic, if I had to pick two things, those two things would be on the top of my list. You always want to set your sights on the best, right? And the best is international play, best on best. And so those two events for me, if I could, earn a role or an opportunity with unfortunately, our women's national team are not in either of those. So it would be with the men's national team. But I would love an opportunity to do that at some point if it ever came my way. But right now I'm a fan. I like watching it, but maybe one day I'll get a phone call and say that they need my services, and I'll be happy to join.
I wouldn't bet against it. I'll tell you that.
No.
Thank you.
I was just going to say the same thing, Gary. I would not bet against that. Hey, Ashley, this has been fun. I just want to do some house cleaning here. As always, please remember to like and follow and share. We really appreciate hearing from you, and you can contact us at whaddyaknowaboutsports@gmail.com. And Ashley Stephenson, this has been really a lot of fun, and just some terrific insight into your career in two sports, which is really cool to be able to talk about. It's not just one, it's two. And congratulations on all your success and all the best with the Vancouver Canadians this season. And congratulations again on your Hall of Fame induction later this spring.
Thank you very much. Had fun. Always like chatting sports. Appreciate you listening to me ramble on about a few things that I'm really passionate about.
Ash, I can only echo what Randy's just said. It was a pleasure having you on and seeing you again, chatting with you. I wish you the very best with the rest of your season with the Jays, and have just a wonderful, wonderful time at the induction ceremony. Cherish every minute.
Thank you very much.
I'm sure it'll be great. So great to see you.
Excellent. Thanks, guys.
Take care.